Hi, what are you guys doing? I'm walking through the woods along a cliff, trying to find the right place. Going home. Still, a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. Dime, ¿qué fai? Oh, so many little thorns in here. Ah, you're in your hot tub. That is not a bad occupation. Hot tubbing. Walking barefoot through a forest looking for the right cliff face to perch upon myself at this moment. But I thought, well, I have this moment where I'm paying attention to the time. So I may as well start it exactly at 6:30, even though I'm not ready. You know me, I'm not perfect. I'm not the kind of guy. See, so this is pretty nice, right? What we're looking for is that background and a comfy place to sit and prop up the camera close enough that you can hear my blathering. Blather, 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 blather. Lying in my bed. So what do we have? We have a lying in my bed, a hello for my hot tub, and is anybody cooking? Is anybody cooking? I think this might be the right place. I think I found it. La Roca Blanca. ¿Dónde la Roca Blanca? Allá. 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 Ah, sí, me gusta. So it's more like, okay, well, I'll just move myself. Let's prop this shit up here. Hi there, hold on to this tree for me, little tripod thing. Thanks. Hola. All right, so we like this background. That's pretty nice. If we move it like that, I could like fill up this space. Let's balance the horizon. That looks kind of wonky. Maybe I can't be the best judge here. It's really wonky. Use your other hand, buddy. Sorry. Has anybody ever used the Sinead O'Connor song, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, as like a daily practice? Maybe that's what she was doing with that song? I certainly haven't. Oh no, I have in the past, but not recently, and it'd be nice if I could. Do any of you have relationships with guardian angels or spirit guides or ascended masters or whatever the fuck you want to call it, that you personally relate to, that you can like ask questions to and they can answer that in a way you can hear? So you can be like, what should I have for dinner tonight? Boxed macaroni and cheese or fruit? No, more like, should I return to America or stay here? It's hard to complain about sitting in a hammock. But it's easy to complain about it being so hot that we can't function. And like my face is burnt from laying in the hammock even though I was in the shade all day. Look how red and crispy my face is. I was hardly in the sun yesterday. But that sun, that setting sun, is kind of painful on my face this late in the day. So I suppose the wiser option then would be to rotate this slightly so we have more space over there. Sí, ¿por qué no? Bien. Okay. Oh. The magic of horizons, right? Have any of you considered in this time of change to grow your own food or produce your own meat? When I was younger, I raised chickens for 4-H. And one of the things that I had to learn how to do was kill the chickens and dress them, which really is undressing because you have to take out the intestines you're not going to eat and take off their feathers. Which I cannot say I enjoyed, I cannot say it sang to my soul, but I can say that I'm a meat eater. I have been vegetarian for periods of time. Oh, see, I want to share this beauty with you because this beauty is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Remind me to talk about the Sami. Yeah, so the idea of like a garden, right? My mom has, I think, 3 raised beds that she tends to just grow flowers in because there's too many chiggers for her to go out and use it regularly. So I'm going to go back to Indiana soon and I'm going to tend to the garden and I'm going to try to plant some things there that I would like to eat. I'm not much of a lettuce eater, but I do love brassicas, kales, dark greens, and roots like carrots, parsnips, beets. I don't know if it's too late already to plant those things, but we're gonna see, we're gonna find out. But I've had these fantasies of getting some meat birds and some rabbits. A friend of mine, that's not really fair to call him a friend. A guy that I know is, he went to the Peace Corps when he was a kid in Nicaragua. And the technique that he used to try to help the community was he inherited some kind of shack on the edge of some village, and in that shack he built a couple different rabbit hutches. And you know, rabbits reproduce very quickly, there's a cliche about it, and in a very short period of time he had a shitload of rabbits, and he would cook these like really nice rabbit dishes or put it over a spit. I don't exactly know how he'd do it, but he would draw the villagers to his house by this delicious meat smell, and the villagers would come and say, oh, you're a white guy. He was like a redhead, very white, and they were like, can you give me some rabbits? And he's like, no, I won't give you any rabbits to eat. This rabbit's really good, but I won't give you any rabbits to eat. I will give you rabbits, however, if you don't eat them, but if you let me teach you how to breed them so that you can produce your own meat. And they're like, no, I just want a rabbit to eat. And he was like, I'm not going to give you a rabbit to eat, and I'm not going to sell you a rabbit to eat, but I will give you rabbits to breed. And in that way, he helped this village that had a poverty problem, a food problem, become more self-sufficient. The first time I ever cooked rabbit was in Virginia. There's a town, which I will not say on the internet to let them be discreet, that has been living the hippie dream all these years. Like every fucking week there's a potluck where all the hippies sit around and play music together. All the kids are raised by the whole community, and there's like, I always love this, there's a fucking health food store that's a Quonset hut in the middle of nowhere where anyone can go, it's always unlocked, all the food is just there. You take whatever you want and you write down what you took and put your money in an envelope and stick it through a slot. Like, fucking amazing. Like trust in the community, right? So somebody in this community gave the woman I was staying with a rabbit. And she said, do you know how to prepare a rabbit? And I was like, no, but I've eaten rabbit in Europe, so I'll try to make it for you. And it was terrible. It was gross. I tried to like braise it like you would chicken thighs. And even though I eat meat, I rarely cook it. So it was just hard and dry and gross. So a couple years ago when I was in the mountains of Italy, again, a nice old lady gave us a rabbit. And my friend was like, do you know how to cook rabbit? And I was like, let me try again. Because I told him I'd kind of fucked up the first time. And I was like, let me try again. Maybe I can get it right this time. Because after my first experience, the solution in my head was like curry. You have to fucking marinate and boil the fuck out of that shit and curry and get the flavors and the fat into the add fat, you know? Curry. So I made a ragu because we were in Italy, not India. And I cooked that motherfucker for like 2 hours, put lots of roots and shit in there, and then just like boiled it down, reduced it. Made basically like a gigantic soup, and like poured it in there and reduced it, and poured it in there and reduced it. So we had a soup and a rabbit ragu, and it was fucking amazing. So I was thinking about like doing a rabbit thing. Nice. Joseph, you mean like places like that it's just like an honor system? You go in and take what you want, and write down what you took, and put the money in an envelope in a box, or through a slot in the wall or something. That's great. I'm just so glad that still exists in America, that it's not all fear and distrust everywhere. There are pockets. As somebody reminded me, we're in the Kali Yuga, where everything is insane suffering and misery. However, the Hindu gods are nice enough to at least offer that if you don't want to be a part of the corruption and misery of the Kali Yuga, there are pockets of places where you can be outside of it and just enjoy peace and kindness, compassion and harmony, if you choose. So I'm glad, Joseph, that you have access to some of those pockets, maybe something like those pockets, as well as we can achieve in the Kali Yuga. So that's what I'm thinking. I think it's a nice project, right? Teaching some videos, maybe do some sex seminars for sliding scale, no one turned away for lack of funds. If anybody wants to do some sex seminars, some healing qigong, self-making love kind of things. And when I say sex, I don't even mean like ejaculatory or penis focused, but just working with the sexual energy and making yourself feel orgasmic bliss without it having to be about porn or desire. If that's a possibility and you want to check it out, I want to do it. When I have better internet. And I know you guys are like, but you have great internet. I'm like, yeah, just for Facebook, and only for Facebook Live, because anything that isn't producing content for them costs me money. Anyway, so then I was going to ask you, best social distance shopping. Yeah, when there's no one who works there, you don't have to worry about a cashier. So the other, I guess, is there any feedback anybody has about the idea of raising your own meat and just being at peace with killing your own animals? Has anybody had that experience or do that regularly? I think, John, you mentioned something about that a minute ago. Your goal is to be self-sufficient. Do you kill your own animals? Is that something that you, I don't know if you go by the name of Hagar or John, but do you actually kill your own animals? Is that something that is a normal thing for you? I'm not hearing any response, so I'll take that as a no. So, the other thing, last night I went to a birthday party. There were 51 people, or 53 people or something. The guy who was hosting it counted them. And he didn't mention anything about the risk factor of having 53 people at his compound. But again, we've all been here now for 2 months, so we're all pretty much probably done with our cycle, if any of us had it. which I think I did, but I'm not a good DJ. The kind of music I want to dance to, other people don't want to dance to, so I tried to DJ for a little while. The only song that excited anybody was Paper Planes by MIA, and I thought Get Lucky by Daft Punk would excite people, and it didn't. And Carmen Sita didn't excite people, and Orb didn't excite people, so. Well, yeah, I have chickens for eggs at my mom's house already. Oh, do you have a response, John? I'm not rushing you, dude. I'll pause telling this story if you want to respond and stay on that topic. Yeah, Joseph, my mom has chickens for eggs, but the chickens are like her pets. They're pretty chickens as opposed to boring white meat chickens. But the boring white meat chickens are the ones that I raised in 4-H. And I won some blue ribbons, or purple ribbons, or whatever the fuck it was. I won some awards for my meat birds back in the day. I could post a picture when I was 14, holding my meat birds at the 4-H. Aww. I was a little chicken myself. Yeah, but did you kill them yourself, John? Was that a regular occurrence in your life? And was it something that you had to make peace with, or was it something that was just naturally easy for you to be like, oh, I'm eating this, it's easy to kill them? Can you hear me all right, or are the waves too loud? Still with the sound checks. No, Joseph, the town's been on lockdown since April 1st, so no one new has arrived here since then. I have heard that 1 or 2 people tried to sneak into town and the cops caught them and threw them out. I don't know exactly what that means. But no, it's been a very lockdown town, and it's been a very nice experience. It's been a very nice experience to have this place all to ourselves. It was hard, but I got used to it. Thank the animal beforehand. Yeah, I thought I would have to like do a meditation, like a namaste of being like, chicken, I am you and you are me. Thank you for being a manifestation that I can use to feed myself. And, you know, I have killed quite a few chickens that were sick, besides just killing the few I killed for meat back in the day. I never killed them regularly for meat, just the experience of learning how to do it, really. Yeah, again, like people in the old world, like they didn't have supermarkets, so they grew their meat at home and they grew their herbs at home and they grew their fucking vegetables at home. It was just a normal thing to do, and they'd walk out in the yard and pick the dandelion greens and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, in a lot of European cities, there are little garden farm plots people have access to on the outskirts of cities. At least in the Germanic countries I've been in the Netherlands and Germany and Switzerland, I've seen those things. And it's funny, when you get to the outskirts, a lot of these big cities, there'll be roosters out there crowing and everything on the outskirts of the European cities. They don't have suburban sprawl in the same way, a lot of them. Some of them do. Anyway, so the second story, thank you for your responses. The second story was, I'm at this party last night. Again, there's like 53 people. I'm trying to DJ, I'm failing. I was trying not to just talk to the people I knew, but it was a birthday party for a girl that I hadn't really connected with a lot, but I liked her. I liked her just because of her energy, for who she was. She was different than a lot of the people I was interacting with here. And I am actually not interacting with people very much. I tend to be kind of antisocial. She reminded me a lot of a girl I knew from New York. And again, not a girl I was super good friends with, a girl who was super good friends with a friend of mine who was in a band. And so I kind of felt like just being generous and friendly to her. I went to a birthday party and brought her some pizzas and some bread, and she was just so happy. Like, we hadn't talked very much, and she was just really super cool and very like appreciative, and that felt really nice. But after kind of failing at being a DJ, I was like, okay, now I just want to leave. But I was like, instead of just leaving, let's see if I can interact with someone new. And I end up talking with this kid who was from Sweden. And he was from the northern part of Sweden. I didn't ask him what age he was, but I imagined he was in his late 20s. He was from Sweden, and he had kind of wider eyes and dark hair, and he told me that he was part Sami. And I was like, oh, I've heard about Sami, but I can't in my mind bring up anything right now about the Sami. And he's like, they're reindeer people. And I was like, oh, reindeer people. And of course, that very quickly led to the problems of like, oh, well, they were this ancient culture, and now they're addicted to alcohol and drugs. And we had a little moment about, oh, indigenous people everywhere. That's an issue they have to face. But he talked about how he was a bartender at a mining town up like north of the Arctic Circle. And he said it's in a valley, so that they have like 4 months of the year with no light. And so it's very different than what I had in Iceland. He said they don't even have twilight. In Iceland, when I was there for the winter solstice a few years ago, they had like 3 or 4 hours of twilight before the sunrise and sunset. The sun was up for maybe an hour every day. I don't remember if it was like a half hour around solstice, but I was there for 5 weeks and the sun was really not up very long. However, I was disappointed that it was light most of the day, but it was twilight most of the day, like 3 or 4 hours of twilight before sunrise and then 3 or 4 hours of twilight after sunrise. So everything was just that weird purpley blue color all the time, which was kind of fuck with my head kind of feeling. And I just slept a lot. I slept like 10 or 11 hours every day, which was a really nice way to spend the winter. It was like cold, but not too cold. There were hot springs, there were northern lights. So that's the problem I've heard. If you actually go to real Scandinavia, like Norway or Sweden, there are not hot springs everywhere. So it's just cold. And Iceland, not only does it have hot springs, but it has like 32 active volcanoes and currents flowing around it. So even though it gets cold, it like doesn't really get much colder than freezing. But anyway, let me get back to where he lived. He lived way up north of the Arctic Circle. I forget the name of the town because I couldn't pronounce it anyway, because it's not a word I've ever heard before. And he said it was like the fucking Wild West. He said every night the men got drunk and got in fights. And he said that part of living there, part of the culture of living there was, he worked as a bartender. So again, this was his perspective, and he's probably in his 20s, so he had that kind of young perspective that a lot of young people have, where they don't really understand that they're only able to see out of their eyes. Where he said, you know, everybody there, they get drunk every night, and then we all take turns doing something stupid. We all take turns waking up in the morning feeling like shit and blacking out and wondering what the fuck we did the night before. And we all take turns laughing at each other about it and saying, it was your turn to be an asshole last night. It's okay. You just drank too much, and that's what everybody does when they drink too much. It's okay. And I reflected on this because I've not been to AA or anything, and I don't think I've ever had a drinking problem or an addiction to drinking. We'll say it like that. Maybe I have had a drinking problem, but I've never had an addiction to drinking. But I've had the problem with drinking where I drink where I'm like, everybody drinks alcohol and it's fun. It's nice and it's fun to drink alcohol. And when I drink alcohol, I get really mean and sad and out of control and sometimes violent. And when I smoke pot, I get clumsy and awkward more than usual, and then usually the next day I get really irritable and depressed, which can sometimes last for a month. So that's the problem that I have, which isn't, but I've never had the allergic addiction reaction to it of like I need to drink all the time and it's destroying my life. I've always just, in the past when I drank, I wanted to drink because I just thought that's what humans did. That's how humans socialize, is they drink together. And so I want to drink with people. And then I would, and sometimes I would have fun. I remember like Frank is here, or was here a minute ago. And I remember being with Frank in a bar in LA, and it was either him or someone else who was like, you could be a fucking stand-up comedian. And again, when I get drunk, I get really goofy and riled up, But I can also get violent and mean, and it usually brings out like a type of mood swings over the next week or two afterwards. That's the real problem. Is that like one night of drinking gives me like 2 weeks of mood swings of being like, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm hateful, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm sad, everything's horrible. And that's just not worth it to me. So this Sami kid is telling me about how it's just normal that everybody drinks and everybody does something stupid. And after dating this dude who is in AA, I mean, he gave me this very simple equation. He was like, yeah, at this point, none of my friends drink alcohol. And when I hang out with people who do drink alcohol, they always tell me stories about some dramatic meltdown they had. And it always involves alcohol and drugs. And they just never see the equation because it's such a normal part of their everyday life. So this kid, I assume, is telling me this. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that is normal that everybody gets drunk and then does something horribly embarrassing and stupid, but it's not necessary. You can skip the whole getting drunk and doing something embarrassing and stupid. Why are we so like this as humans? And I thought about that life, the life of like a very dark northern mining town, where he said every night they would get really drunk and fights would start. And I said, are there guns up there? And he said, well, there are guns, but the guns are never involved in the fights. The fights are just fists. And like, that's a version of hell to me. But he says that, he gets paid really well and then he can travel the world. This was his first time in Mexico. And he talked about the women that he had met here and the people he'd fallen in love with, or the way he'd fallen in love. He talked about like this very clear, like, when I meet a chick, I tell her, what's on the table, what I can offer. I can have sex with you, I can be your friend, I can talk about these things, I can't talk about these things, and I can't be somebody you can expect to have a future with. It doesn't matter how well we get along or how not, I'll have sex with you, I can drink and eat with you and talk with you about stuff, but that's it. There's no negotiation. I was like, all right. The birds are reaching the rock. I wish you could see it. I know you can't see anything in this shitty camera. Hundreds of birds swirl around this white rock. That's why it's white, from bird shit. Hundreds of birds swirl around at this hour of the day. So I thought about that because of the one guy that I've been having sex with here. He's got some pretty good traits that are very sexy to me, and then others that are not so sexy to me. But it's just like sex. Like, there's no friendship, there's no eating together, there's no cuddling, there's a tiny bit of hanging out and talking, but there's no connection. There's no resonance or relation. And in this time of quarantine, it's nice to have someone to have sex with. Everybody's trying to deal with that in different ways. Like, I've talked with some of my sex buddies in New York City, and I think it's amazing that they're like, oh yeah, I'm still seeing sex buddies regularly, or I'm still going to the cruising park regularly, and I'm just like, in the face of pandemic, we prioritize hooking up. We prioritize, everybody has their priorities, right? So yeah, I mean, I've had someone here that I can have sex with somewhat. But again, it's this very mediocre pizza, fast food kind of sex for me. Like, it doesn't fulfill any of the what do you call it? Refined, developed, mature sexual desires I have. It's like the most base. It's a nice penis. It's a nice furry man. It's kind of a nice belly. He's very dark and tan. He's everything's uncut. It's nice. But it's just like this. And before I met him, I didn't have sex for a month. And I mean, before I actually started talking to him, I didn't have sex for a month. And I only masturbated like twice in that month. So, I mean, I kind of say this, I just masturbated a little while ago before making this video. It's up on Twitter if you want to find it. And that was just because I was texting with one of my sex buddies in New York City who is kind of similar to this guy here, who, I can't have anything beyond a body attraction with. But I'm going to go to Indiana, and I'm going to be staying with my parents, so I can't take risks there of hooking up with people. So it's nice, like again, if any of you are interested in the idea of spending time with me and kind of developing a sexual practice that's not based on desire or even ejaculation. It's something that I've learned and I'm kind of good at, but I want to teach more so that I can get better at it and really just have some people I can practice with. Have any of you ever done any classes with Jojo Bear? Any of you know Jojo Bear? I haven't taken any classes with him. But I've never taken Body Electric either. I've never taken any Arnie Vargas classes or Armin, the German guy who does gay tantra, or Jason Tantra. I've never taken any of those classes. But I have taken, Taoist sex practices, which I really like because they're on a totally different dimension. And again, some of us have had a lot of sex. I'm Kevin. Not that I'm insinuating anything about Kevin. He just signed on and I haven't seen him for a while. Kevin. But I love the idea that you can take it and transform it and do other things with it. And that's become increasingly attractive to me just because, if one has had sex with thousands of people and one gets to the middle of their life, they're like, maybe I can do something else with that energy. So that's one of my intentions as well. Not just raising my own meat, but feeding myself in different ways than hunting unsatisfying fast food men. But finding my own internal perfect lover, that's one of the things I'm going to be working on. And it would be sad to lose the ocean, right? I mean, I've had this ocean as this constant companion for 3 months. It never shuts up. Yes, I know what you think of me, you never shut up. Yes, I can hear you, but what if I'm a mermaid with these jeans of yours with her name still on them? Yeah, well, I don't care. Sorry, I was listening to podcasts earlier today. When I cut my foot and I couldn't leave my room for a week to let my foot heal, I didn't really notice how big of an effect the ocean sounds had on me. But I never went into town. I never got away from the wave noise. So the first day I left my ledge, my little cliff face, the silence was like a hammer. The silence was like this, all of a sudden I was in a cage. It was such a weird feeling. So I'm sure I'm going to miss the ocean. But part of the thing about this ocean being so loud and so talkative is that it's also just really dangerous. So even though I've had it as a constant friend, if any of you watched yesterday's talk, it's really easy to get in it and then feel like you're going to die. And although it's sexy to have rough trade and friends that can choke you and be violent towards you, it gets a little tiring to always have violent love. And I'm sure the ocean loves me, but this ocean has a violent love kind of thing. So a part of me is kind of looking forward to taking a break from the ocean. And the next time I go to hang out with an ocean, It may be one of those islands in Thailand again where the ocean's like calm and I can hang out in it for hours. Not as cool, but not as violent. More peaceful and more gentle. Or maybe I'll get to live near a lake or a river next time for a few months. These waves are terrifying. Travelers. What it was. This is what it was like. Today I woke up and I was tired. I didn't sleep enough. And there were drunk kids in the cove, screaming and antagonizing each other in a friendly way. And I sat to watch the sunrise and the sun hurt my face. And I was angry. And I went into my room and I got dressed and I went down to the beach to do Qigong. And my friends weren't there, so I just started my practice. And in the middle of my second part, I guess, one of them showed up. He was very stoned. And he did some practice with me after a while. We talked a bit, and he left. Oh my God. Thousands of ants biting my feet. It's been a theme lately. All of a sudden I'm like, wow, thousands of ants all over the cut on my foot. That's nice. That's what today's been like. Oh, actually, John, sleeping on the beach, I tried to do that a couple nights ago, and the sand is really fucking hot. So sleeping, laying on the sand in a cove, I sweat profusely and then was being eaten alive by mosquitoes and maybe sand fleas or something. So after laying there for 2 hours, I got up and left and walked back to my bed, which was an hour and a half away at that point. So I thought it would be romantic and nice too, but spoiler alert, it was hell. Anyway, after doing Qigong this morning, I went back to my room and picked up my papaya to found that it had been eaten by something, only partially eaten. The papaya that I ate yesterday had also been partially eaten by something. I don't know if it's a lizard or a skunk or a bird, but there's something that is getting into my room and eating the papayas, or at least taking bites out of them. And it had 1,000 ants all over it. So I picked it up and I cut off the part that had been eaten, and I cut off the skin, and the little kitten that has been eating the lizards, so I kind of hate the kitten because it's decreasing the natural diversity of the animal kingdom here, with that whole monoculturing of the animals that humans like and cultivate, like cats and dogs. It started to eat the papaya. And I sat, oh yeah, that's what it was. After the kids woke me up and I couldn't meditate because the sun was burning my face, I bought tickets to fly back to America next weekend. New tickets. I don't know if they'll work. We're gonna find out. And then back to I was eating my papaya, and then I lay in the purple hammock. Oh, I picked up the trash. The people who live here have been overfilling the trash cans, and there was just trash strewn around, and it smelled really gross. So I cleaned up the trash, found an empty trash can they just hadn't used. Picked up the trash that was overflowing from the other trash cans, put them in the trash can, washed my hands, washed my plates, laid in the hammock, and I watched some of the Midnight Gospel, which people have told me I would like. I'd never heard of that guy, whatever his name is. I'd never heard of him. I'd heard of the guy who did Adventure Time, who I also can't remember his name right now, but I'd not heard of the podcasts. So I started listening to some of these podcasts, and I listened to some tinfoil hat podcasts with some wow, I'm totally blanking at everybody's names right now. Alex Jones, that guy's such a nightmare, but I listened to him for like 15 minutes. I listened to a couple other things, and then did a whole bunch of research of crazy stuff online, and talked to Tony for a while, and then ate a bunch of nuts and chocolate, and then watched another episode of the Midnight Gospel, and then Marco came up, because he had accidentally bought some chicken tamales, and he's a vegan, so he gave them to me, and I ate them, and then talked to Tony for a while. Maybe that was when I talked to Tony, and then I talked with Paul, my Orthodox Jewish lover, which made me have to masturbate, and then I napped for a minute and did some qigong to try to balance my energy. And came up here, and I don't know if I'll go down tonight and interact with people. I feel a little socially burnt out from yesterday. I think I'll probably just watch a movie or something. I don't think I'm going to read a book tonight. I don't think I'm going to write anything. But I decided to recount the day like this to just remind myself, to give an impression of what the days are like here sometimes. Every other day, maybe every 3 days, I go out and I be social. I talk with people. There is a party. I remember they told me there's another party. That is one of the things that's kind of leading me to be okay with leaving. Is one of the things I didn't like about this town when I arrived was it was constant parties, and I'm just not a party person. They make me feel sad because I don't enjoy them, and I see all these people like they're doing it because they enjoy it. I remember when this lockdown thing started, and one of the first pieces of news I read that was positive was there was some like live DJ dance party on Instagram that the Obamas and all these fucking famous people showed up at, and I was like, I don't understand why anybody would go to a fucking dance party on an Instagram live feed, but that's my problem because there's thousands of people who just did that. And then there were all these other stories about thousands of Zoom dance parties and all this stuff, and I was like, that's just a whole part of humanity I don't connect with very well. So as things are lightening up here and reopening, there's a lot of parties happening. There's a party last night, a party the night before, a party tomorrow, a party tonight, multiple layers of parties, and drunk people ending up screaming in the cove underneath my place at 5:30 in the morning. And that's just not attractive culture to me. I mean, be it involving alcohol, marijuana, or meth, it's just like, I don't like it. I don't want to be around it. And so going to be somewhere boring, like Indiana, where I can garden, meditate, and play Nintendo Switch. I won't have the ocean. I won't be able to hang out naked in a hammock looking at the ocean. But I'll be able to hang out naked in the backyard in the hammock. I've already told my parents, I'm like, I'm gonna have to hang out naked in the backyard. You're gonna have to be okay with that. But there's not gonna be any hooking up. Maybe they'll be booking. Maybe they'll be journaling. I don't know. Writing. Maybe I'll continue doing these videos every once in a while. They certainly won't be as nice without the ocean. And the ocean is really the star of these videos. I'm just the kind of talk show host. You want me? Fucking will come and find me. I'll be waiting with a gun and a pack of sandwiches and nothing. want me. Yeah. I don't know if it's ruined, Joseph. It's just life. Again, not the greatest person to quote all the time, but Morrissey has this wonderful song that I always think of that's a B-side that is kind of hard to find called At Ember. I don't think it's on Spotify, if I remember correctly. But it's a fun song. It's cute. And it's like him, the auspice is the main character of the song is calling a friend of his who's disabled, like in a wheelchair or paraplegic or something. He doesn't explain how his friend is disabled. He just calls him my invalid friend. But he's like, I'm calling you from this awful hotel at Ember. I think it's at Amber, like the Amber Stone. Hi, Jorge Clar, I love you. Hi, everybody, this is Jorge Clar. I love him, he's a great kid, he's a great kid. Jorge Clar, the eternal child. We love him so much. Here's a headline from today. Tell me, Frank. I can't read that, it's just URL. I'll look at it later. MSNBC fawn. I'm calling you from the foyer of this awful hotel, where the men and women are acquainted quite well. Well, the drunkards keep on drinking, and oh, my room is cold, and I'm envying you, never having to choose. Anyway, the line in the song that I always think of is, it's not low life, it's just people having a good time. Oh, that's sad. Oh, yeah, I've seen some of these videos of the jets celebrating coronavirus workers and shooting smoke, colored smoke into the air and roaring over people's apartments. I've seen some of those videos. It's sad that it crashed into someone's home, but you know, there's an endless number of tragedy that can happen in this world. Yesterday, a woman who thought she was going to die didn't, but somebody else did. So I'm in a bad place for ants crawling all over me. The little fuckers who like to bite. But it was good enough. It was good enough to tell those stories, which is really all I had to tell today. I thought, let's just try to have a day about today. It was interesting to talk with that kid, that Sami kid, Sami. I talked to him a bit about the Songan people in Mongolia, which are also reindeer people who cultivate reindeers. The Sami in Sweden, I think, are the ones that Santa Claus comes from. Hormigas! Sí! Las hormigas! Merd! Vete a mer! Hormigas! Hormigas fucking piss me off. But hey, this is their earth more than mine. The ants. We love you, ants. Please stop fucking biting me. Oh, look at all the kids on the beach. Oh. A la playa Camarón. La playa Camarón. If I had your limbs for a day, I would steal away. Oh, I should put this on something. It's so jiggly in my hands. I'm calling you from the foyer of this awful hotel, and I cannot, or I do not, and oh, my room is cold. I think that's all. I think that's all for today. I don't know if there's anything anybody else wants. Yeah, bird shit rock. Hey man, honor the bird shit rock. You can see pictures of it from the drones. You can see the drone footage of the bird shit rock. La Roca Blanca. See, there's a fuckload of birds around it right now. Let me put this down. Hold on. Let me put this down so we get the full experience, because I bet it would be cool. That's what a tripod is for, kid. Whoa!